So hey everyone, welcome to the first video in my crafting series for 2025. Today we are going to kick it off with just a couple of very simple fall projects. Now this first one is going to be some little miniature yarn pumpkins, and you want to grab a piece of it in your hand and just start winding it around your fingers like this. Now you can see I already have a little ball of this going because I wanted to see how many times I would need to twist around my hand so I could tell you without having to count all the time. And I ended up doing about 55. This is a very thin type of yarn, as you can see. Stole this out of my daughter's stash. She is only 16 but has been crocheting like a grandma since she was about probably 11 years old. She is amazing at it. So what you want to do is cut another little strip of yarn, lay it down on your table, then slip your fingers out from the yarn and then place it directly in the center of that piece of yarn. Pull up the sides and tie it into like a shoelace knot, and you're going to cinch this down pretty tightly. And as you can see, when you do that, it kind of gives it that little concaved pumpkin shape there in the center. So like I say, I usually do 2 knots. Now this is one of the loose ends that was at the end when I was wrapping it. You can just tuck that in and tie that down as well, or once you tie it, you can snip it off. Either way is just fine. So leave those strings on, don't cut those off just yet. And just with your fingers, just kind of gently work it around so that you kind of have it all evenly distributed to the sides. And you'll see that it looks kind of flat, but as you kind of puff it a little bit and then give it a couple little squishies, it does puff up a little bit, and you can see it's starting to look a little bit more like a pumpkin. Now you want to take a green pipe cleaner. For some reason, I can't find my really pretty, they're kind of a mossy deep green pipe cleaner. This is more like a Christmas green, not my favorite, but it's all I could find, so we're gonna work with it. You just want to cut off a piece long enough to make a stem. And what you're going to do is lay it on top of the string, and then again tie a couple of shoelace knots and just cinch it down really tight. Make sure that you have that secured in there so it won't go anywhere. And then once you've got that done, you are going to take and lift and cut off the excess string because you don't need that anymore. And this little piece, bend that upward, and then take the 2 pieces of pipe cleaner and then just twist them together, and this gives you your little base stem for your pumpkin. And with this excess piece here, we are going to take a pencil or a pen. I just had a pen lying next to me, and you're going to take and then wrap that around the pen to make a curly Q. You could probably do this with a barbecue skewer if you wanted a little bit tighter of a curl on the top, but then simply slip it out, and then you can adjust how high or how small you want your little curly Q for your pumpkin. And as you can see, it's just made this little tiny cute pumpkin. Now I did try to make some out of that orange there in the back. It didn't turn out very well, it was too thick. But this is what my 3 multicolored pumpkins look like just sitting on my mantle, and I will show those with another project here in just a little bit. Now if we haven't met before, my name's Julie, and on this channel we do all kinds of stuff. So if you don't mind hanging out with me and hitting that subscribe button and the thumbs up, it would help my channel a lot. Now, second project, I found this round facial tissue box at the dollar store, and I thought these are kind of unique. I've never seen these before. I like this fall pattern that it has here in the center, but of course it's got all this printing stuff on the top and the bottom and that lovely price tag fixed in. So when I was at the store, I was kind of thinking I would leave that fall print in the center and just cover up the bottom and the top. But when I got home, I couldn't really find anything but this fall plaid fabric that I had. So I really like this kind of like ruffled fringe at the end as the threads kind of come off of the fabric. So I wanted to incorporate that. So I'm just measuring how much I'm going to need to wrap around the bottom and overlap just a little bit so we can hot glue that in place. So once I have that measured, I'm going to make my cut. And as you can see, if you measure it right and you have it on the line, you can just use that line as your guide. You don't have to use a measure tape or measure stick or anything like that. And because this fabric is folded in half, I just wanted to cut each layer separately so I was ensured that I stayed on the line perfect. Since, as you know, if you deal with fabric a lot that has a pattern, the folded side doesn't necessarily match exactly on the other side. So we're getting the base one of this put into place. And sorry, it's off camera a little bit. I'm still working on my overhead shots of which one is better. So next video, I promise, will be a little bit better. Once I got that fabric on the bottom though, I kind of looked at it and I didn't really like the way it was going with that fall print that was already on the container. So I decided to just wrap 3 layers and just completely cover it, with each layer having that little fringe hanging down. And I was working really hard to ensure that the lines of the plaid as I wrapped the fabric around were matching up so it didn't look wonky when you had the final product. Now this last piece that I had didn't quite have the fringe hanging off the end that I wanted, so I just grabbed a couple of threads and pulled them out so that I could get a little bit more of the look that I was going with. And now we're going to put our final layer on. And this one, I admit, did not go as perfect as planned. I didn't get them 100% lined up, but they were close enough. And working with the round container is a little more difficult because it likes to roll on you anytime you set it down. And I'm just working on getting the lines as straight as possible. And this one, we are going to glue both the top and the bottom. Now the middle layer, I only glued at the top. I didn't layer the bottom fringe section, and it's on there snug and fine. So I didn't worry about that. So now we're gonna get this completely wrapped, and then I decided I would take a little bit of my jute twine and just tie little bows around each one of the sections just to see how it looked. It's funny because when I was in the Dollar Tree and I was looking at this container, I had this idea in my head of how it would turn out. And then when I got home and it wasn't going to work with the fabric I had, it kind of threw me for a loop and I had to kind of just wing it here. So I was just trying to figure out what I could do to dress this up a little bit, still keep it very fall. I didn't want it glitzy and glammy. I wanted it to kind of match those little pumpkins that I did. So I ended up putting 4 bows around this, and then the top, I am just going to glue some of this jute twine around the top to hide that whole complete upper lip except for the little section that you will peel off to allow the tissues to come through. And if anybody has any suggestions for me on a type of glue stick or any other type of glue that works better without sticking to your fingers, let me know. But this is what the final project looked like. I thought it kind of ended up looking like a candle the way the tissues come out the top. I just set this in my bathroom. Now coming up, we are going to be doing a bunch of Christmas videos, DIY crafts, just because to get a head start on the season. So make sure that you're subscribed again. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you next time.